Hello there. So this is my first YouTube video, and I'm going to be debuting my 87 BMW 325 ES, otherwise known as a E30. This car I bought a couple of years ago, and it's been nothing but problems, but that's because I wanted to build a race car / drift car. The car, when I got it, looked pretty good, except it had a crap load of rust on it. I had to replace quarter panels, the trunk, floors, just everything. They rusted out, and basically what happened is your sunroof drains leak, or they get clogged up and just puddles up water everywhere. And I didn't know this when I bought the car. Like I said, it looked really nice, and I was ready to just get it, start modifying it, do whatever I needed to do. After tearing into it, basically the reason I started tearing into it is I jacked the car up and my floor jacks went through the floor. That was partly my fault. They slipped off the jacking points and went through the floor. I tore the carpet out, realized everything was just rusted out. So right now I'm working on is the turbo kit for the car. Can't really see much. I'm doing quite a bit to it. I've pulled the head off. I've had the head rebuilt. I've pulled the transmission out. Put a lightweight flywheel, new throttle bearing, new pilot bearing, all that stuff. I got a stage 3 clutch by Clutch Master in it. Sorry about that. And then the turbo kit that I'm putting in it is a CX Racing E30 turbo kit. It's supposed to be a direct bolt up. Does take some modifications. I've done quite a bit of it. Luckily, because I like building cars and like working on things, I have bought tools to do it. Whoa, tripping over my garage. My garage, it's a freaking mess. I constantly just, when I'm done, throw stuff in there, so it doesn't even matter. So right here is my Eastwood TIG 200 TIG welder. Works pretty good, does what I need it to do. I don't have 220 at my house, so I have to use 110, and pretty much everything I've done for the car built, it does fine for. On this car, I've done bash bar in the front, just pretty simple. Also did a bash bar in the back. I have a full body kit. Right now it's Plasti Dip, just because I did a bunch of body work, and well, it's not Plasti Dip, it's actually Eastwood wrapper spray on rubberized paint. Works good. It's not the best, but like I said, I did a bunch of body work, primered, painted, covered it, and I just wanted to make sure it didn't rust out until I can actually get it painted. Car also has carbon fiber hood, Duraflex bumpers, carbon fiber trunk, which I'm actually kind of really like, is even though it doesn't fit quite right, is I put a S14 carbon fiber duckling on it. See it right there. It's just riveted on, and then I did a little bit of fiberglass resin to kind of seal it, make sure I have the holes. Let's see. Right now I'm trying to run the intercooler piping. I've been having a little bit issues with the blow-off solenoid on the side of the turbo. It's not really working, and with the CX header, the way the turbo drops down is basically if you have anything facing straight down, it's going to be touched by the exhaust. I have the exhaust wrapped right now, but I don't know, and I'm not going to trust any kind of rubber near it. So this is what I got going on right now. Cut a 45 down so it's a little smaller. Then it's going to run to a 90 And then on this car, it already had a hole cut through the sheet metal. That was for the AC dryer on it. And so since that's all pulled out, I'm just going to run the turbo piping through there. And then I'm going to run the turbo intercooler right here, which should be fine. I might eventually add a bar that goes down, but actually I have a lot of trouble fitting this bash bar underneath my bumpers. I probably will have to cut a little bit of it off just to get everything to fit nicely. I mean, everything does fit pretty well right now. I've done an okay job at it. I'm not a body guy, but it's pretty easy. I mean, if you do any kind of fabrication work or any kind of time, I will say time is the big thing. Then right over here I have, this is a 3-core aluminum radiator by Eastwood. It's kind of a universal. And so what I did with this one is all I did was take the measurement, make sure I have the right width, length, everything, and make sure all the inlet and outlets are on the same size. So let's see if we can get into actually doing some work. Now you kind of know a little bit about the car. There's other stuff that I'll talk about when I get into it. Another thing is I had to convert with this. This is another reason why you shouldn't get a 325 ES. If you're going to get one, get an IS or an I model, which still you're going to have some issues to do. This car has a 2.7 liter straight 6 instead of the 2.5 liter. So the 2.7 liter motor is an ETA motor, which is basically the car is supposed to be more efficient. So having the bigger motor, I guess, or bigger displacement, and the car revs a lot lower. So I think it only revs out to 5,500 RPMs instead of the 7 or the 79 something. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to be changing all that, all the rev limiting with my ECU. But with these cars is they rev out lower. So, and the reason is because they're springs. There's not a double spring or a stiffer spring, something like that. I actually had, when I had the head rebuilt, I had them put a stiffer spring in it. So I'm going to try to get the RPMs a little bit higher than normal. But what happens with this motor is, if you're going to get like a plug and play ECU, which that's what I got a Mega Squirt, the heads aren't the same. They are a 37 pin prong, which is, this is my old wiring harness. If you look at that, it's a lot different. It's right here on the ground. The reason it's on the ground is I actually bought a wiring harness. It's right here for an I model car that allows me to run the 55 pin plug and play ECU. Everything pretty much is plugs in. Some of the plugs are different. If you know a little bit of wiring, you can change that, change the plugs, just cut them. Most of the time they're 3 wires. All I went through was just a multimeter and just checked each leg end to end, make sure they ring out, make sure there's no broken. Also, if you go to a pin out on Google, just Google out a pin out for your model car, or wiring harness like I did, is you can just figure out which one it is you're looking for, plug it in, go to that plug, check it. If it rings out, then you know that's where that pin goes. Then you can just kind of plug it in. Some of the plugs are different. Another thing that I had to do to kind of convert the car from an E model to an I model, which will allow this turbo kit, is I had to change this front, the pulley, because on the I model your timing is done. So with changing the front pulley and the weight, so I can run the E325i harness with their it's the timing sensor. It's just right there. With the E models, they're on the transmission. There's two. There's a speed and the timing sensor. Just a little piece of metal that's on the flywheel, which actually kind of sucks because I thought I was going to be able to run the stock wiring harness. I was told by when I emailed Mega Squirt, I told them which year and model car I had, and the guy was like, "Yeah, it'll plug in, no problem. Don't worry about it." And I mean, not in those words, but that's what they told me. So I just straight up ordered it, and I already bought the flywheel, had it installed. This flywheel is actually really expensive. It was like $700 just to get the E model flywheel, which is still heavier than the I model flywheel. And if I would have known that now that I would have had to do all the change, I just would have got the I model flywheel, which is much lighter and a hell of a lot cheaper. And I think my clutch options would have been a little bit more open, but oh well, you know, I make a lot of mistakes when it comes to parts and things like that. Like, one was buying this car. If I would have done more research, I would have definitely got a different car. This one was in my town. The guy was selling it cheap. Kid seemed cool, and I'm not going to say the kid screwed me over on with the rust and all that. I think he bought the car, and he was telling me he bought the car for a daily, drove it, and then he was going to sell it because he had to finish up getting parts for his actual project car. So I'm pretty sure he didn't really look into it. When I had the car, I had all the carpet in the trunk, everything, and he told me about some rust spots on the side that you could see. So I mean, he wasn't lying. I think he just didn't dig into it. So with changing all that over, I can I'm able to run the new ECU, which is going to help with the tuning of the car. Right now, with the ECU, I don't have it in. Harness is still kind of not finished. I still got to do some wiring on it. I'm able to run larger injectors. I think I have 40-pound injectors in it right now, which are bigger than stock. And then I also am running getting rid of the MAF. I'm getting rid of the mass airflow meter, which is a big old box. Getting rid of that, and I'm running GM style meter, which is actually right there, which just goes straight to that little bracket. Well, not bracket, but inlet tube. So that's what you know, I'm hoping that the car will make decent horsepower, but not crazy. I want it to be street legal. I do live in California, so gotta get the car smogged, which is a problem because I'm trying to find a 3-inch stainless steel high flow catalytic converter that is carb legal, which try to buy a couple. You go to order, you place the order, and then they tell you this is not legal in California. I think MagnaFlow is one of the only companies that make them, and even on their website, they don't tell you until you go to order it, and then also they're really expensive. So I got to run a cat. I'm probably going to have a test pipe so I can pull the cat on and off. So if I go to a track day or anything like that, I can put the test pipe on, and then if I'm going to drive the car around, which is not going to be daily, but in case I want to drive it, take it to like a car show or anything like that, I can just throw the catalytic converter pipe, or when I get smogged, throw the pipe on it. I do want the car legal, just less issues if I get pulled over or anything like that. So I got to work on the intercooler piping and also the oil cooler. I had a little bit of issues with that, and I'm actually trying to find in this pile the adapter to run the stock style oil filter. So that's just a little overview of the car. Going to be trying to update on it. And like I said, I've had the car for 2 years and I've done a lot to it. Done suspension. I have D2 coilovers all the way around the whole car, and then I also have in the front end I have a 94 RX-7 4-piston calipers with a VW Golf front rotors, so I can still run the 4 lugs, which I do want to convert it to a 5 lug, but with these cars it's not as simple as say like a 240 or anything like that. But then I also have stiffer sway bars. I have rev shift bushings all in the rear, so the rear subframe and all that has rev shift bushings. I converted the front end, instead of having an E30 the cast iron control arms, I converted it to a 2002 E46 control arms, which makes the car actually kind of tow out, or not tow out, but camber out a lot. They're a lot wider. And then I also had to weld in new brackets for the front sway bars because they don't mount up the same. And the car sits really low, which I like the low look, but it sucks. I got shitty roads around here. I live in a small town and our roads aren't the best. Caltrans, they need to get on it. But this is what the front control arms look like. Yeah. And I also have braided lines. I'm going to also work on getting rid of the anti-lock brake system. So it's all disconnected from the car, but I still have the module in there, which is getting in the way. I have a flaring toolkit to do it, to the double flares, so I can get rid of it, and I'm going to try to run it where it just goes straight down for each side and just connect. So there's going to be a little bit of fiddling with it, but it shouldn't be too bad. And so I'm going to be working on the car, giving you guys little updates. You know, if you like this video, subscribe, leave a thumbs up. There you are. Alright, have a good one.